Hey, what's happening, everybody? Rod J is back again, and I'm actually back with a new segment adding to the channel. This is actually going to be called the YouTuber Spotlight. I'm sorry, BeerTuber Spotlight. So this is the inaugural initial blast off of this show. And what I'm going to be doing is interviewing different beer tubers so you can get to know them a little bit more, find out a little bit more about their beer likings and things they might be into, and hopefully provide some more information that you might find useful and get to know some of the other beer tubers a little more intimately. So tonight I'm actually here with Tonya Makowski, who is based out in California. And Tonya, go to introduce yourself.
Hey, so I'm Tonya, and I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I don't even know how far I am from San Francisco, but it could be anywhere from 35 minutes to 2 hours, depending on traffic. I have been doing YouTube beer reviews. I guess I should know the answer to this. Maybe 3 years now. But maybe longer. No, probably 3 years. I think it was 2014 that I started.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I enjoy beer a lot. And I got into it really because I wanted to, part of Cicerone training is to know all of the styles intimately, like how they taste and smell and look and all of that. And so I thought the way to do that, is to drink them all. So I'm drinking my way through all the beer styles.
Nothing like getting a little dirty to get into your craft, right? So,
right. I mean, you gotta dig in and know it real well. So.
Now, you mentioned the Cicerone training because you've already completed the certified beer server exam. So you're already through the first stage. So now you're going into the Cicerone stage next for the first level there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really incredible how much information is involved in that. I have all of the syllabi and a lot of study materials. As a matter of fact, this half of the shelf that's directly behind me is beer books on America's best beers and brew chemistry and all of that, beer pairing, because you have to know all of that, all these really, really technical details about the brew process and beer styles and beer history and beer serving and beer handling. Yeah, and actually on my agenda for this week is to do the off flavor webinar. I have like the little kit where you put the off flavors into your beer samples and then you taste them, and so you can identify them really well. You know where they came from, what part of the brewing process. Theoretically to be a better brewer, but also to help kind of critique weird, funky flavors that you might get in beers.
Right.
So, yeah.
So it lets you know the things you aren't supposed to get in the beer, so you're able to pick those out and everything.
Yeah, because I think it's one thing to kind of read about it. You'll hear about light struck beer, being kind of skunky, or sometimes people say it tastes like paper, like cardboard, and it's kind of hard to know what that is without, tasting a good beer and then tasting a bad beer. Hopefully you're never going to get a bad beer on the market. But it does come up. And sometimes you'll taste a beer and be like, this is weird. And it actually turns out that it's a bad flavor, even though you found it drinkable. You're like, oh, this is weird and funky. And somebody else will be like, yeah, that has, diacetyl in it. And that's a bad part of a result of a bad brew process or whatever. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's definitely of importance, because I know there's some beers. I just had a beer recently that I didn't rate it because the aroma was off on it. I knew instantly that it was off on it because it was kind of a funkiness, and it was a Belgian triple IPA. So even though the taste was doable and I didn't do a drain pour, I knew it wasn't the right area for where it should have been. And of course, we run into that sometimes with some of the overseas beers because we get them out of their peak period sometimes.
Right. Yeah, it's actually really common in imported beers. I agree, and I've been to a couple of restaurants or really like sports bars that have what looks like a nice beer menu, but they've had their beer sitting around, and I'm like, this shouldn't have this much sediment in it, you guys. But But also they don't like it when you tell them that.
Yeah,
Just an observation I've had.
We call it constructive criticism. Some of them don't call it that. They call it something different, I guess. But, you know, it's all trying to help out, you know, trying to provide the right details and everything. It's funny, I didn't say something the other night. I had a beer, and they said they were bringing it to me, and they said it was, I think they told me it was going to be an IPA. When they brought me, it was not an IPA by any means, but I let it go, you know, just because they don't know sometimes. They're just told what the managers tell them, or some of the people that come in there and tell them stuff, that try to sell them stuff. They don't even know sometimes some of the beers. They go by the name. I'm like, well, that's just the name. That's not the style, actually, but it is what it is. So you've been doing this for 3 years. When did you first start getting into beer?
That's a good question. Gosh, I don't really know. I remember when I turned 21, I didn't drink beer. I actually had made Kahlua for Christmas that year. And I bought Grouch because it has those flip top bottles. And I brought the whole case. It was like a whole case or 2 cases, because I think I made 24 bottles, down to my neighbor down below me. It was like a bunch of, I want to call them frat boy types, you know, I don't know, 20-something-year-olds, dudes. And I was like, hey, excuse me, gentlemen, will you drink this beer for me and return the glasses? Because I really need these bottles.
Like, this lady gave us free beer. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were very nice to me, by the way, after that. They're like, oh, hello, hi, Tonya. So, you know, so for a while I was really into wine. You know, I had like a wine journal, and I kept the labels for wine. Then I got to the point where I really couldn't drink as much red wine. It was causing, I have this ridiculous headache condition, long story you didn't read. You know, but the short version is that wine would make my headache worse. And so I'm like, well, I guess I can't drink as much wine. I should drink some beer. But not like the beer that I had in high school, because that's not very good beer. And so then that started the journey. I was like, there has to be beer out there that I'll like, right? And, you know, so then the only way to find that is to drink them all.
And then the hunt was on.
Right, exactly. So, you know, that was, I don't know, in my 30s, definitely. Otherwise, I would just drink, you know, Corona. Yeah. So, like, secretly, I mean, I know that we're live on the internet.
Some people like it.
Yeah. Secretly, I drink Corona with lime in it sometimes.
Some people that don't know any better. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so your channel is your name, Tonya Makowski.
Correct.
So what do you like to do on your channel? What do you like to share with people on the channel?
So I talk about beers, and I try to objectively talk about them. So I try not to say like I like this or I don't like this, as much as I will say, you know, I evaluate it based on the BJCP guidelines. That's the Beer Judge Certification Program. And they have a really strict document that they provide every couple of years that has all the guidelines for how each style of beer should smell, look, taste, what its history is, the ingredients that are used. And it talks about what the IBU range, the bitterness range might be. It talks about what the alcohol range might be. It talks about what the color value range might be. And so at first I didn't know enough about each of the beer styles to feel like I could be like, this is a good beer for this style. So I literally would read off of the sheet, you know, this is what it says it is. Does it taste like that? Does it look like that? Now that I've had so many beers, I feel like I know, I can usually guess alcohol content, you know, within a pretty small margin of error, and bitterness range, and I can usually ID the type of beer that it is. There are a couple that always stump me, you know, just by taste, flavor, look, etc. And so now I'm a little bit more loosey-goosey about it, but I really do go through like, how does it look, how does it smell, how does it taste? I generally forget about mouthfeel unless it's particularly notable, very silky or very thin or very bubbly or whatever. And then generally an overall impression, but that overall impression has kind of morphed into my opinion about it. So oftentimes I'm like, oh my God, you guys, this is the greatest beer. You have to try it. So I've kind of lost my objectivity, I suppose. Yeah, so I'm really trying to dig, like somebody who wants to try it or wants to try a new beer in a style or wants to know about a style or heard about a beer but doesn't want to buy it first. I want to be able to offer them like a pretty good rundown of what they can expect so they can make a choice as to whether or not they're going to want to drink it, I guess. I guess that's the benefit I might have.
I think you're kind of like me in that regard too, that you're always looking for newer type beers on your channel.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like some of the beer tubers out there will go back and revisit some of the beers, but I'm like, there's so many beers out there. You know, I go in and not that I'm pretty much always one and done unless I'm doing one of the other shows and I'm just drinking some beers. I'm not really doing a review on it. But when I'm doing reviews, it's pretty much one and done. Because I find there's just so many beers available to go back and do another one. That's just not something that I really want to do. I don't want to get to the next one and, hey, you know, this is your shot now. Like the one I had recently that I couldn't rate because it was bad, I would go back and do that one because I couldn't do a rating on it. But once I go out there, I taste it, I do a rate. Like some of the guys that asked me, like this year, Stone and their Czechoslovakia or Kokovezia is saying, people are saying it's better this year than last year. And last year was really good, but for me to go in and do something on that one, that's taking away something else I can do for another beer. I already got to feel it's going to be a solid beer anyway.
Right. Yeah, I agree for the most part. The exception to that is, well, and I didn't even do it this year. So this is the exception to the exception. Is I was drinking things that I've cellared. You know, I had it fresh, cellared it, and I drank, and so I would drink it again. And I was doing videos on those. And then seasonal beers that come out every year, but mostly for fall beers right around Oktoberfest. And the one of note is Buffalo Bill's Pumpkin Ale, because for a number of years I drank all the pumpkin ales, and most of them I didn't particularly care for, but I really enjoyed Buffalo Bill's every year, but it was different every year. And so I did that for a couple of years standing, but I didn't like it almost at all last year, so I didn't even want to drink it this year. So, but I don't really know that somebody wants to watch me talk about the same beer 5 times. I feel like part of my value in the world, one, is to try all kinds of different beers myself, but then 2, also like to find new and interesting beers to bring to people's attention.
Yeah, I would think with some of the people that are like trying to learn about beer, some of the newer styles that are coming out, it's kind of interesting because you're out there like I am picking up different beers and different styles. I think this year was probably the first year I had a Schwartz beer or a Keller beer, and they were both fantastic styles.
Yeah.
You know, and some people just aren't aware of them, and some people aren't as aware. They're seeing a lot of Gozes and they're seeing Berliner Weisses, but they're not really sure because they never had those styles. So I try to find different ones to offer different things along those lines too, and I see you doing that as well. And I think that, you know, that brings something good to the people watching the channel because, you know, you go out there, you buy some of these craft beers, some of them can be a little more pricier than others. So people want to know they've got a good shot at getting something good out of what they want to try. I think a big thing is trying to help people also learn their palate so they know what kind of things they like. So I can go, and you probably can do this with your friends at work, but I go where I'm at work during the day when I'm not drinking. I got to do something to pay the bills. We go to a happy hour. Everybody will ask me, what beer do I like? What do you usually like? And I can tell from their palate the beers to try if people pretty much 99% of the time end up liking that beer. So I don't know if you're doing that as well. You're kind of pointing those things out. And that's always a good way to learn beer styles too, because you can say, well, this person is this type of lager drinker. Well, they probably like this, or you can start to sneak them into some of the craft beer type scene. I've got some people like some of the blonde ales, for instance, has been a stepping stone for some of the guys that were on lagers.
Yeah, that's a good stepping stone beer. Yeah. You're exactly right. Every time I go somewhere, I'm like, oh, hey, I'm so glad this beer's on the menu. I think you're really going to like it. I've heard about this beer and I think you're gonna like it, or I've drank this beer and I know you're gonna like it. Because I feel like we talk about this a lot with wine. You walk into the wine section and it's just, there are so many choices. Generally, I mean, very basically red and white, okay, I like red. I don't really like white, but that's still half the aisle, 3/4 of the aisle. Do you pick it based on price point? Do you pick it based on, the cool art on the bottle? Do you pick it because it's something that your friend has had before, you've seen at a friend's house, whatever? And it's a little overwhelming, especially if you get really deep into the technical parts of wine, like if you're going to drink a Pinot, you want to drink it out of the California because that's the best place to get Pinot grapes. So then here you are in Nebraska and you're like, well, shit, excuse me. There's no, I can't get any beers out of the Russian River Valley from California here. What would I drink? So maybe I know that I like Pinots and I can try some of those other ones or whatever. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people get overwhelmed by the beer section. I actually spend a lot of time standing in front of the beer section, like walking back and forth, looking for something that I haven't had, which at my regular stores is really challenging now. And they always come up to me and they're like, oh, hey, can I help you with something? And I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to find something I haven't had before. And quite frankly, I've had all of your beer. So
I almost want to do that. I almost want to just laugh like, I think I got this, Sonny.
Yeah. I'm like, do you have anything new that you haven't had on the shelves in the last 3 years? Like, I want that. Pretty much whatever it is, I want that.
Yeah.
Except if it's sour, keep that. I don't want that. But
well, I think you hit on a point, though, that can also be an issue at sometimes because of some of the buyouts taking place, right? You have to get shelf space in the store. So if you have some of the macros buying some of these craft brews, the more weight they carry, the more they can say, oh, we've got 10 craft beers, put all of our 10 out and don't put those 1 or 2 in from someone we don't know down the street type thing. So what happens at a point later on, and this is something that some people miss when they're talking about whether or not it matters to be a craft beer or not, those other ones aren't hitting the shelves because the buying power is not there. And now you start going to stores, you start seeing the same things over and over again because that's the strength of some of these big brewing companies that are putting these other ones out there.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And one of the things that I do when I encounter a place that's really serious about their beer is I tell them, here are my favorite breweries locally. Like I've met this guy, it's run by the family. They're really nice people. They make solid beer. Every beer on their menu is great. You should serve this. Let me introduce you to each other. Serve this in your bar, put this on your shelves, whatever. Because especially right now in major metropolitan areas, there is so much going on in the beer industry, in the craft beer industry, that for a while we were way into shop local, and there's so much good stuff happening locally in the beer scene for most major metropolitan areas. And I feel like as much as I would love to try beers from Cincinnati, they're not distributed in my area, but if I go to Cincinnati, I want to walk in and be like, wow, these are all things I've never had before. I'm in a different.
Have you seen my beer run videos?
Yeah. I think that's the coolest thing. So sometimes I'll go the Bay Area is really good about microclimates. It'll be 80 here and then 20 minutes away it's raining. But we're really good about beer like that. And I can drive up the coast a little ways, and the beers that are on the shelves are different than they are just here. And I really enjoy that. I think it's great to go and to have different things. As much as I want to try some of the things, we've done group reviews with people and they're like, oh, we're all going to drink this beer tonight. And then half the people can't get it because it's not distributed in their area.
Right.
Kind of sad as far as, having beer friends across the United States, but I also think it's great in having regional differences. I wish we could ship alcohol legally to each other more often. So we'd be like, hey, here are 3 of my favorite beers.
You said legally in there, right?
legally, yeah.
Back
So,
when we used to road trip, you just pack stuff in the trunk.
Exactly. And when I take road trips, they don't make it back. Like I drink. So.
Why is your car so low? There's nothing in there, officer. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
Nothing, officer. Yeah. And when you come into California, they're like, "Do you have any fruits and vegetables?" I'm like, "No, sir, I do not." Yeah.
So as far as like beer styles, do you have any favorite beer styles?
I do. As far as being really basic, when I made my wine analogy between white and red, I really like dark beers versus light beers. And I don't mean light like as in low calorie. But I'm not particularly fond of lagers, pilsners, hefeweizens, things like that. I'm really into, I guess, middle beers, not even really dark, but I like brown ales. I really like English style beer, English IPAs, very, very, very different than American IPAs.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Scotch ale a lot, and we've been drinking with guys from England and Scotland, and they're like, Scotch ale's not a thing, and I'm like, well, according to the governing body of the beer judge certification program, it is in fact a thing, and I like it. So
you wouldn't get a Scotch ale in Scotland, I guess, according to them. But yeah, over here we do have a Scotch ale.
Yeah, I think Scotch ale is just like all the beer there that doesn't say, IPA. I don't know, whatever, or stout, I suppose.
We got wheat heavies.
Yeah, wheat heavies, exactly. Yeah, and so I like that style a lot. I really like I like stouts, but sometimes they're a little too acrid for me. They're like black coffee. I like cream in my coffee, so
you like more of the roastiness of a porter versus the coffee of a stout.
Yeah, that's a really great way to describe it. Yeah, I mean, if I were to pick between a porter and a stout, every time it's going to be the porter.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like you can really get more of the flavor out of it, and like stout is like, this is my flavor. It's like the face punch equivalent of an IPA. Like, but don't get me wrong, like, I love a stout.
There's difference between a dwarf and an elf. I mean,
right, hobbits. We got to look at the hair on their feet. As a matter of fact, I'm even drinking a stout right now.
So what are you drinking right now?
This is oatmeal stout out of the Sam Adams winter pack. I did like a beer party for one review of all the beers in that pack yesterday. And so now I have to drink them all. So
hey, when that happens.
I know, right? I opened all those beers, and my roommate and her girlfriend were over, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna open up 5 beers, and I need you to like help me drink them. So I guess that's a benefit of knowing me. Sometimes I'm like, hey, I'm going to do a review of this big, huge 750 milliliter bottle of really great beer. Will you help me drink it? So
you're making friends all over, I tell you. Those guys are probably like, why did Tonya move? We liked her. Right?
She never invites us over for beer anymore.
So you mentioned yourself. Are you selling beer right now? If you are, how many do you think you have selling?
Yeah, I pulled some out recently to drink because I was on a medical leave of absence, which made me really, really, really poor. And so I couldn't buy new beer. And I'm like, well, I guess I have to drink the beer in my cellar. So one of them was the brewery's 8 Maids of Milking, right? So they have that 12 beer series that they're doing. And I happened upon that at 8 Maids of Milking, which is an Imperial milk stout. Milk stout is one of my most favorite styles.
Good style.
Yeah, good style. And so the Imperial, the 8 Maids of Milking is 2 years ago, because now we're on 10 Lords of Leaping, which I haven't gotten my hands on. So I drank that the other day. So it had been cellared 2 years, and that was great. So I did a review of that one, even though I had done it 2 years ago. Because it's one of my favorites, and I really wanted to, like my favorite beers I want to share with people, because I feel like, they're really great, and they're really representative of the style, or, exemplary craft that somebody has artistically put together. So I also have, I did meet the brewer. Gosh, I mean, it's been a year at this point, because it was, I think, gosh, September or October last year. And when I went to Alameda Island, they had given me a beer that they had been cellaring. I don't know how long. And so now I've had that a year.
Oh, wow.
And that's in my refrigerator. So that'll be coming up on my things that I'm going to be drinking. So watch for that review.
Okay.
And then I have the Makowski 10-year anniversary beer, which I think I got last year. It could have been this year. I think it was last year. And I also have, you know, that space beer I've talked about in the past, where they launched yeast into space, and they wanted to know if you could still brew with it and what it tastes like. So the first one was just like an Imperial, and then the second release of it was a barrel-aged Imperial Stout, and so that is the one that I have that I've been cellaring. And then I have one that's called Death and Taxes. No, it's Evasion.
Right.
I think actually it's Evasion, Death and Taxes. But I have a friend who is really into beer and isn't currently drinking, I don't think. And so I bought this beer to share with her, but I have to wait until she's drinking again, so we can drink it together. She's an accountant, hence the tax evasion. Yeah, I was like, oh, clearly, friend of mine, you need a beer about tax evasion because that's relevant to your job. Will you drink this with me? And she's like, yes, but not right now. So I have to hold on to that one. Yeah, but I think that's all that I've got right now. I mean, there might be one like weird. Sometimes I end up with beers I didn't mean to buy. Like I had Sweetwater or Stillwater. Who is it? Stillwater. I think it's Stillwater.
Yeah.
They had an anniversary beer. Yeah. Okay. They had an anniversary beer that came out recently, but it has Brettanomyces in it. I really don't like Brett beers. It's too sour, too champagne-y for me. Yeah. And I was like, crap, I have this beer and I had it for a long time. And so I went to a party and I'm like, hey guys, I brought this really fancy bottle of anniversary beer from this place. You'll enjoy it.
Take it and run with it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, go ahead, drink it. I brought it for you. It's fine.
Well, initially I was drinking this Pronto IPA from Sierra Nevada. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I saw that you had done a review on it.
Yeah, we did this on one of the Hangouts, but I just did a review earlier tonight so I can upload it. But this is actually one they created exclusively for Trader Joe's.
Does it have raspberries? What does it say?
As mango and hibiscus.
Oh, mango and hibiscus.
Tropical and floral. It's actually a pretty pleasant one. The bottle was only like $2.99, which is really a good deal for what you got in there. So, but now I've actually moved on to the stout because this will be like a nightcap. This is a narwhal.
Yeah, that's a nightcap for sure. What's the alcohol content of the narwhal?
Narwhal, I think it's 10.2.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I could do that sleepwalking. Yeah, 10.2.
Yeah. But the brewery that I had the other night was 11.6. Right, and so I poured it, and I'm like, oh, this is a little boozy, and like I handed some to my roommate, like unsuspectingly, like handed her this. Like I drink most of my beer out of stemless wine glasses, and just for my own personal aesthetic needs. And so like I handed her this big goblet of beer, and she was like, oh, here, it'll be great. It's a great beer. And I was like, oh, I'm super sorry. This is so boozy.
You didn't chug it or anything, right?
No, but I'm just like, hey, it's Sunday night. You want to get drunk? That's how that.
I usually enjoy a few on Sunday night watching The Walking Dead. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. One of the other things that I have that I've been meaning to do, so it's not quite cellared because it hasn't been made yet, but I bought the stuff to make a chocolate hazelnut stout. But then I've moved. I had surgery, I think even 2 surgeries since I bought this stuff at this point. And so I can't even like carry a 5-gallon carboy of beer around at this point. But that's on my list of things to do is to brew some beer again.
Well, hopefully you're recovering well there, and let it be known you're still the only person that's been able to make it on the show from a hospital bed. So
yes,
you still got that.
I hold that record.
You hold that record. We've had bedside with James overseas laying in a bed, but no, you were in a hospital bed, and you had a beer in the pitcher. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I did not on the video record drink a beer, but I had one on ice, and I did in fact open it to drink it. But the medication that I had been on was like, nah, you shouldn't drink beer. Like my stomach's like, don't do that. So I ended up not even drinking it. But I did actually have pizza ordered and delivered to me in the hospital.
Oh, see, there you go. Perfect pair for a beer then.
I thought so. Yeah.
So let's see. Let's play a game here. So we're going to play a little word association. You've done word association before?
Yeah. Isn't this like it's like the word version of Rorschach? Let's go.
So I'm going to say a word, and you're going to say the first thing that pops in your head.
Okay.
Let's see. Bourbon County Stout.
Is that a word?
That's not a word. Is that translated to UGG?
Yeah. If you're gonna write that down, I think there's like a RRRRGH.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I have to tell you, I've never drank it.
Okay. Well, just what's your first word that popped? I mean, is it?
Imposter.
Oh, okay. Pliny the Elder.
Oh. Overrated.
Ooh.
Am I going to get booed on that? I might get booed on that.
Hey, everybody's got their own word. Everybody's got their own word association. It's all part. So.
Okay. It's a good beer, y'all.
Okay. KBS. You don't get Founders, do you?
I can. Founders make beer for Trader Joe's, right? Because Trader Joe's is the first thing that came to mind. Aren't
Trader
they?
Joe's? I don't know. They may sell it. They sell Founders at some of the Trader Joe's, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have that one. Okay, let's say Left Hand.
Oh, Left Hand. They make that milk stout, Left Hand, or whatever it's called with the hand thing. Anyway, scrumptious.
Stone.
Bastard. That's one of the first craft beers that I had because I was standing in the beer section and I'm like, arrogant bastard. That's
They are the Bastard Brewery. You are correct there. Let's say I know you get Stillwater.
Yeah, unfortunately, Stillwater has not been good to me. So, like, Brettanomyces comes to mind because I ended up with a bottle of Brett beer and I hate it. Black. Okay.
So, kind of like a disappointing type thing there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's say Imperial Stout.
Acrid and boozy.
Imperial Porter.
Imperial Porter. I was gonna say dusty because I can't like quite reconcile what it is about porter that makes me think of dust, but it smells and tastes dusty to me, and I enjoy it. So it's like it's not. I don't know. I can't dusty. Anyway, that's my word.
All right, New England IPA.
Oh, I mean, I guess hazy, and that's just like a gopher word, like a giveaway. But yeah, hazy.
Okay. And let's see, what about, I'm trying to think of some of the breweries around you. Because I know you got like Alameda Brewing Company.
Alameda Island, yeah. Yeah, they have, and I love them. They're great. They have a beer called Sea Haggis, so that's my word that comes to mind. Okay. I love that. They're one of the guys that runs, I think just one of the guys, it's like a brother and their wives, two brothers and their wives. And one of the brothers, I think they're brothers, maybe it's sisters and their husbands. Anyway, they, one of the brothers was in the Coast Guard or in the Marines or something like. I think it had to be in the Coast Guard because they have a lot of nautical references. Plus, they're on Alameda Island, which is a really Coast Guard heavy, or was previously had a Coast Guard base on it. Anyway, so that's my word for them, sea haggis. Breweries that were in my area and have moved. Farm Creek Brewing Company. That's the one, you remember when I had the back alley beer?
Yeah, that was one of the first early ones from back in the day. Guy comes out of the van, hey, you want to buy some beer?
Yeah, exactly. So I went there before they were even opened, and I got a couple of their beers and got reviews, and they were, they lived in my town, and they just left on Monday. What is today? Tuesday. So yesterday just left to move back to Georgia. So they're gonna, so anybody who's in the Georgia area, keep your eye out for Farm Creek, because they're moving their operations back there to be with their family. About Farm Creek leaving, so that's my word for Farm Creek. There's Cleophas Quealy, and I'm not even kidding about that being a name of a brewery. And they're in a town called San Leandro, which is, you know, Bay Area-ish, so somewhere in this major metropolitan area. And they make the most interesting and funky beers. And so, like, unique and interesting are my words for them. They don't have names for their beers. They have batch numbers. And so they'll say, like, I can't think of any examples of beers that I've had, but they'll be like, you know, Belgian Golden Ale, you know, batch 43. And so everything that comes out of there, I think they're all small batch. So everything that comes out of there is weird and interesting. They have an anniversary party coming up. So if you're in the Bay Area, go check them out. If you want something you won't find anywhere else. I stumbled upon a brewery called Gilman Street Brewery in Berkeley on Gilman Street. And every beer that they had there, I tried several while I was there. Every beer there was good. I love it when I go to a brewery and every beer is good. I mean, I'll have some of their beers and be like, oh, this isn't really a style that I appreciate, but this is a good, like, it's well done, like a really good, you know, well-crafted, interesting, complimentary recipe. So Gilman Street Brewing makes really great beers. I had a dark saison from them. Yeah, it was really amazing. So impressed is my word for Gilman Street Brewing. Yeah, there's a brewery also in Berkeley called Rare Barrel, and they do almost exclusively sours. So I went to their 3rd anniversary party, and I got so sick because, you know, and I didn't, like, I went with a group of people and we each ordered like a beer at the table and then just took a sip and passed it around. So I'm sure that through the whole night, I probably drank the equivalent of a pint of beer, but my stomach was so upset.
All different flavors mixing, maybe.
Well, and just, it's too sour. It's like just too acidic. So I'll drink one and be like, oh, sure, I can appreciate that sip of beer I had, but I cannot drink a glass of a sour beer.
But like a kid when you ate too many sweet tarts, right? Your stomach.
When I drink the pickle juice and I'm like, Mom, why did I do that? Yeah, it's like that. Yeah.
So with at this point right now out there, or anything that you're seeing, because you actually get some of your beers. We talked earlier today. Well, we talked through Facebook stuff, but like Devore, are there any upcoming exciting beers you're looking to try? Anything that you've seen that's kind of piqued your interest right now?
Yeah. Well, I really want to get my hands on the brewery's 10 Lords of Leaping, you know, because that's a limited release beer. And
that's from the brewery, right?
Right, and the brewery's in oh, is that San Diego? I think it's San Diego, or is it New York?
Yeah, I just called a mad sale from the brewery out here. I was getting, like, I think one of theirs is the 9 Ladies.
Yeah, 9 Ladies was last year's. Yeah, it's like an ale brewed with cacao nibs and. Yeah,
but you can sell her and everything, but I got it for like $3.99.
Oh, that's a steal. That's a steal. I mean,
so I picked up 2.
Yeah, exactly, right? So then you drink one now, and if you love it, you drink the other one, or you cellar it.
Yeah, I mean, I got like, it was probably 7 or 8 different ones. One of our places had to get it off the shelves and stuff. So
yeah,
I'm like,
trying to think of other beers that I'm really excited about right now. I haven't been, so see previous conversation or previous point about being super broke right now. So I haven't been ordering a lot of beers. Oh, something I am excited about. So Hopsy, you know, started up in this area, and I've been pretty involved with them from the get-go. And they made, so previously they engineered like a CO2 backfill system so they could fill growlers without the beer touching air, right? And so it as it filled, had a layer of CO2 on top, so it never touched air, and it wouldn't oxidize, and it would be good longer. Normally, when you get a beer from a growler, a growler of beer from a brewer, you need to drink it pretty quick. And so they were trying to extend the shelf life of growlers, and they had a bunch of brewers in the Bay Area, because that's where they're located, that had signed up for this program, and so you can get these growlers of beer at pretty good prices. And then they added shipping, so then you can get it shipped to you. And they even ship as far as me in the East Bay. So they're in Berkeley, and I'm in Walnut Creek, so we're not even 20 miles apart, but they couldn't ship to me at first. Then they added the home tap machine. And it has these 2-liter bottles of beer. So it's like a growler, but it's in a closed 2-liter system.
That's what you have with your counter, isn't it?
Yeah, with a countertop like tap machine.
Yeah.
That's friggin' amazing. Like, that's pretty much my favorite beer accessory. And then you get 2 liters of beer for, you know, it depends on the style and the alcohol content, but like $18.99 or $22.99, I think, is the highest price point. So that's my favorite thing. And I'm actually, my parents are having Christmas party, because my stepdad is an attorney, and so his team has a Christmas party every year at my parents' house. And they always do guess the wine, or like guess the region that this bourbon came from, and they'll have like a tasting of a couple different things. So this year they're like, "Oh, can you help us? We want to do a beer tasting." And I'm like, "Oh, yes."
Can I help you?
Can I help you? Yeah. Like, we want, 5 beers, pretty big quantity, so you can get like everybody can have a pour off of it. In a variety of styles, and then we want people to, then it's going to be a blind taste test, so they're not going to know what beer it is. All the bottles match exactly.
Yeah.
Because I ordered a bunch of growlers from Hopsy, and so they have these variety packs, like pre-picked 4-packs. We're gonna get a 4-pack of light-colored beers, which I don't know exactly what's going to be in it, and then a 4-pack of dark-colored beers, and we're gonna do a taste test. And so I'll know what all the beers are in advance, but I think what I'm going to do is a live, I don't know if it'll be live, I might just do a recording, but I'm going to drink them all and see if I can guess these 8 beers. I actually think that the game is going to be with 5 beers.
Okay.
But I'm going to see if I can't guess, the style or whatever, the brewery, because like I said, I'll know all the beers because I'm going to help stock the party, but then they can hide the labels, and then I'm going to try to guess them.
Well, you taste all 8, pick out your 3 favorite, but then to decide, they use the other 5.
That is exactly what's going to happen. You actually nailed my plan exactly. They're like, 5, we'll put the other 3 in the refrigerator for beverages. We're going to have a lot of beer. And I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm taking over. It'll be great.
Well, you have a knack of finding people that can drink beer, so.
Right. Exactly. I'm like, I'll bring a friend. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about that, because I haven't played a lot of beer games with people, and the last time I did was with actually the people at Hopsy, and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna drink these beers. I'm not gonna tell you what they are. I want you to tell me the style, guess the bitterness units, and guess the alcohol content." And I did I didn't get them all, like the closest guests. Like we gave you know, there were 4 or 5 of us or whatever, but I was within the first 2 people that got, you know, like, so I'm pretty excited. I want to know if I have now consumed enough beer that I can guess beer styles.
Yeah.
From a blind taste test. I'm pretty sure I can. So we'll find out on Friday.
That sounds like a fun party for sure. We'll have to wait to see. You can put up a camera so you can have it reviewed. You can put it on your channel so we can see how everybody does on it. There's going to be some good bloopers in there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I wonder if the attorneys will let me, like, if they're going to come on video with me. I don't know. They're attorneys. You know, they're like, "Is there a waiver?" And I'm like, "No, ma'am. I'm sorry."
You have to put the little black space thing over their face when they're on there.
Right? Buzz them out. Yeah.
Hide their identity. Well, it's definitely been great. So definitely appreciate you coming on. Anything you want to say to close it out before we close out here? You know, we want to get people to come check you out on your channel as well. So
yeah, come check me out. And actually, like, maybe we can make this into a poll if you go. Like, I have been looking at all of my playlists, and originally, according to the BJCP style guides, you know, they have categories of beer: IPA, you know, Belgian ales, etc., and then all the individual styles within then American IPA, English IPA, you know, whatever. I have been putting all of my beer videos into these playlists, but it's unwieldy. There are so
on YouTube
many,
though. Doesn't it stop at 30 though now?
playlists that you can have. Oh,
I
I'm
was in there
sure.
at one point, but then I saw it stopped at 30. It said.
I'm sure I have more than 30 playlists.
Oh, now you were doing it before I was, so maybe because you had your grandfather then.
Maybe, yeah. But I have so many playlists, and sometimes there's like 1 or 2 videos in it. And so I'm trying to decide, like, is that useful? Because I was thinking maybe people would want to come and watch, like, oh, let me learn about some IPAs, and maybe I'll drink them because IPAs are my favorite, and they can go to the IPA playlist. You know, so I don't know if that's useful. So you guys go to my channel and look and tell me, like, you would never in a million years click through all of those playlists. That's too much. Or, you know, like, how do you have it categorized? How do you get to videos? Like, what makes you watch them? All my videos, I have some ridiculous face that I'm making, like, as the thumbnail, you know, and, you know, does that make you watch it? Because you're like, this girl's ridiculous. You know, like, I don't know. So yeah, like, give me some feedback. Be gentle about it, y'all. You know, but give me some feedback. Like, is it organized in a way that's useful or not? Like, I'd like to know.
Yeah. Well, you didn't show it tonight, but your wicked sleeve tattoo is pretty awesome. So I'm sure people will see that there.
Yeah. Yeah. So go to my channel and watch. You can see it there. It's featured.
But it was great having you on here and sharing some good information and knowledge. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself, and all you guys out there that are watching, make sure you go check out Tonya's channel and subscribe and put up some likes for her. And, you know, this will be, like I said, a new segment we'll do on the show. Next week we'll have somebody else here. I don't know who it is yet, so I have to see who might want to come on next. But I know some of you guys are watching that run your channel. If you're interested, you can let me know too. Shoot me a message as I start to plan it. But Tonya, I've known for a number of years now, and I wanted to get her on here and get her a little bit of exposure out there. She does a good job with her videos talking about beers, and I think you guys should check her out. That all being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I'm going to finish drinking my narwhal, which is so smooth right now. Always remember, drink your stouts 50 degrees. Let them warm up a little bit. Don't drink them ice cold. You're killing the flavor. You're killing the aroma.
Cheers.
Kick back, relax. As always, keep drinking good craft beer. And, you know, get your beer on. You got to get your beer on. And we'll catch you next time. Cheers.
Thanks.